What a trip we had. It was quite the experience to get the Tidewoods out and do a multi-state trip like this, putting, thousands of miles on the truck and the trailer, and very happy with the way the trailer towed. And it was really nice to see Sonja driving it as well. And I'm hoping with as light and easy as this trailer is to tow and everything, I'm hoping that if she's feeling comfortable and confident enough, she can do more driving. And I know she backed up our mini light many years ago on our trip around the country, and hopefully she'll gain the confidence to be able to do it with the Tidewoods as well. And it's a really good trip. Had a lot of fun. Bummed that we had to cut it short because of other issues, but that's the way it goes sometimes. And Quartzsite was enjoyable. We saw sites we'd never seen before and enjoyed them. The Quartzsite rock alignment was a really neat thing to see, that it's been there for about 100 years and still very visible. And seeing the history of Quartzsite and enjoying the desert, seeing the cactus, the stuff we haven't done before. I mean, I do have to say, to be full disclosure and completely honest, I don't know if I will ever plan another trip down to Arizona specifically to go to Quartzsite and the Quartzsite RV show. It was a fun one-time thing to do. Seeing the camel parade was a lot of fun, but I think that was a one-time thing. On the other hand, with the Valley of Fire, if, Lord willing, we ever make it back down there, I'm hoping to do reservations into one of the campsites in the park and be able to really explore that area. That was just so incredible to see. The sites we were able to see, that whole area is just spectacular. It's just truly awe-inspiring. It was one of those places you go to and you turn the corner, ooh, let's go check that out. Ooh, let's go check that out. Just a really, really neat place. And our experiences at the Fire Wave were phenomenal. Getting up there earlier in the morning and pretty much having the whole place to ourselves was just amazing. The trailer did really well. We'll talk about that a little later here in the video. The truck did really well. Overall, we're just really happy, really good trip, and really enjoyed it. And it really makes me look forward to future trips. I've got some more plans for the Tidewoods, finishing things up and getting back to work on it, and implementing some of the storage ideas that I have. Really looking forward to that, but that'll be down the road. It's going to take a little while to get to some of that because I've got some other projects I need to get to as well. But had a great time, and just want to say thank you for everyone who watches our videos. Really, really do appreciate it. Taking time out of your busy schedule to enjoy our quirky little videos. So sit back and enjoy. And we are back from our first multi-state trip with the Tidewood trailer. Just figured we'd, on this episode, catch up on how things went on this trip. What went good, what we really like, and what needs work on. I'll just touch on it real quick since it's kind of obvious. Our Tidewood decals we got from Dana Signs, both front and back, are starting to peel off. I followed the directions they told me to do on putting it on. They seemed to be on really well at first, but I'm going to get them a call. I may have done something wrong, or maybe there's some way we can fix it, but I'll get with them and we'll figure that out. So first off, the trailer handled wonderfully. No issues at all with it. Sonja actually got a chance to drive it as well. And when she drove it, we had some pretty good crosswinds, and we were on the interstate around semi-trucks and other big rigs, and it handled wonderfully. Even when we had cross breeze, the trailer really didn't seem to affect the truck much at all. Yeah, it tracked really well, no sway at all. I mean, it was a really, really nice trailer. We weighed it on the way out of town. And the one we were fully loaded with all of our gear in it, clothes, food, everything. And at the axle, we weighed 2,450 pounds. And prior to leaving, I have bought a tongue scale so that I can do tongue weight. And our tongue weight was, I want to say 350, 375, somewhere in there. Even with all that, we were probably around 2,800 total weight of the trailer. So it worked out really, really well. One of the things we really liked that worked out just fantastic is this storage box. This storage box, being able to keep the stuff in there, our stabilizer straps, our leveling blocks, a propane tank for our 2-burner stove, just so handy to have it all right there. It does not interfere with the tongue jack. With this hooked up, we can put the tailgate of the truck down and it doesn't interfere with the box either. So we can get in and out of things when we're hooked up. That worked out really, really well. And also having items basically permanently put in the pass-through and having them accessible, our chairs, our 2-burner stove, cleaning supplies, our tank treatment, all that stuff, having it in the pass-through worked out really, really, really well. So that was good. I know I've talked about the stabilizers that we designed and installed. We found them to be super easy to set up. The straps going on are real easy and real quick, and it is amazing, even with a trailer this small and this light, how well it actually stiffened it up while you're getting in and out of it. Just, yeah, I'm so glad those came out like they did. I need to do some cleaning. They're filthy, but they worked out really well. Really happy with that. Another thing that we really like, I know this is going to be counter to a lot of other folks, is we really like our steps going into the trailer. We had the steady steps, and the steady steps do have some of their own advantages, but we did not like them. We had an incident on our big trip where if we hadn't have seen the lizard before we put our stairs away, we would have had a lizard in our trailer. And Sonja really does not like bugs in her trailer, and I'm all for that too. And the stable steps basically gave a pathway to all bugs up to the door, and these do not. And with the 1/4-inch plate I have supporting these, they are super solid, and we have not had an issue with them. We prefer these style of stairs and have been very, very happy with it. Well, I don't have any batteries in here, so I won't be able to turn the lights on, but it looks like it's showing up good enough. So inside the trailer, one of the things we found is temperature. So when we were down in Arizona, there was a couple of days that were 75, 80. In fact, one day that we ran into Phoenix to do some sightseeing out there, it got up to 82 degrees. When we left the trailer, we opened up the roof vents, both of the roof vents, and had those open, but all the windows were closed, door closed, everything locked up while we were gone. I just like to have things locked, so we had everything locked. And we came back in the late afternoon and expected our trailer to be overwhelmingly hot because of the outside temperatures being over 80 and it being closed up for the day. We were very surprised and very happy to find it very comfortable inside. And once we got the windows open and turned a fan on, it equalized in temperature really, really fast. So we were extremely happy with the way the insulation worked here in the trailer. The other thing is the batteries. On the trip, we'd have 3 Lion Energy batteries. They put out 315 amp hours of total use. We were able to run the microwave and hair dryer off of the inverter, and we had no issues at all. And we went for 2 weeks in Quartzsite, and I brought my Predator generator with me. I ran it one day for about 3 hours, 45 minutes, 4 hours-ish, and another day for just over 5 hours to recharge the batteries. And other than running the generator those 2 times, we did not have to run the generator at all. I honestly think that once I have my 400 watts of solar on the roof and that system hooked up to the batteries, I honestly think we could do a 2-week stay like that in a place like that we've got good sun, and we wouldn't have to run the generator at all. We love to boondock. We've gotten really good at it. We're very good at keeping our power usage down. The 12-volt freezer did a really good job. It did not overly tax the system. I honestly think with a good solar, we could stay several weeks without having to run a generator and keeping the system running. So I was really happy with the batteries, really happy with the electrical system, really happy that we could run the microwave when needed and the hairdryer when needed and the sink. So we found a round water jug we put in the corner that we could run into the sink. And then the sink, we had a flexible hose off of the drain going into a 6-gallon jug for our gray water. And having a sink, even though we were having to use the jug of water and the temporary gray tank, and that countertop, that was a game changer. It made camping so much more comfortable in here. I know I've got to finish building drawers for the kitchen and get that storage system figured out and built. But being able to keep bins along the floor, having the microwave usable, having the sink, even though we had to rig it up with a temporary jug underneath it to catch the gray water, it was a game changer and was wonderful. One of the things we discovered on our trip is you can see by the base plate that the toilet is situated kind of facing where the door is going to go. And we had the curtain up for the door. So we actually, I know, ironically, we had a door for our bathroom. What we found is the toilet needs to be adjusted. It's not going to work in that position. That's going to take away from the idea of building cabinets all along the corner. But what we're thinking is, and we're going to do some testing before we firmly attach it, but we think instead of it going this way, we're going to put it so the back is on that wall and it's facing the shower. We think that's going to be a better spot for it. One of the things I need to do in here, and one of the next projects when we get back out here, is I need to get on the floor. As you can probably see on the floor, there's knot holes. It's rough. Trying to sweep things up, it was not the easiest with all the floor dings and grooves and pits and all that. So I want to smooth the floor out. When I do that, I'm going to pull the base out for the toilet and fill those holes up and smooth the bathroom floor while I'm at it. And then we'll bring the toilet out here and we'll situate it until we figure out exactly where we want it. And then I'll mount it there. But it's nice to be able to do things like that where, especially this type of toilet where it just attaches to a base plate on the floor and we can move it. Because now that we've gone out, we've done an extended boondocking trip, we've learned what worked and what didn't. We know that this doesn't work and it needs to be adjusted. So we can do it before we finish the floor completely. And I really like the ability to be able to do that. And it's going to make it a little bit nicer. But we're going to work on that and working on getting this floor smoothed out. And then I'm probably, before I'm going to start working on cabinets, I've got the wood top for the dinette area. I want to build the basic framework for that, get the top mounted there with the flip up front mounted as well. So we can start using that on future camp trips. So we can kind of decide what we want to put where and exactly how we want to situate our storage. But I'll probably work on that after I get the floor smoothed out and painted. And then I also want to build, I've got 3 smaller bins that are going to go up over this window. I'm going to build a shelf for those. So probably getting the framework done for the dinette and the shelf up for those cabinets will be the priority once I get back in here, so we have the basics done. And then as we use it, we can decide this is what we want for storage in the dining area. This is what we want for storage in the kitchen area. This is what we want to do for our pantry area storage. I will say having the coat hooks up there was awesome. Being able to put coats and other clothing off of the hooks like that was really handy. I mean, overall, we're both super happy with the way this trailer worked out. Having the starting to the storage and the pull-out drawer for the cooler, the wall up for the bathroom, and a temporary but a door for the bathroom, the kitchen sink and the countertop and the mounted microwave. They all seem like little things, but when you get it together and you go out for an extended camping trip, it makes this trailer so much more usable, so much more activity friendly. As this next year starts warming up and we start getting out camping, I feel like we can take this with not really having to do much more work to it and really have a really good usable trailer that we can learn, okay, this is where we want to put our pots and pans, so I want to build this type of storage for that. This is where we want to put this. This is what kind of storage will be best for that. So I'm really, really excited for this next year and see where it goes. A couple other things I think worthy of discussion. Number one, we got a different TPMS system. It's a Tymate TPMS. Had good ratings on Amazon. We got it. What I do like about it is how small it is. It's solar powered, and of course driving around, it's getting pretty much full sun on drive days, or if we're like we were at Quartzsite, parked out in the sun all the time, it stayed charged up. Never had an issue with the battery. I really like its size. It gives me constant readouts, so it's not flashing. Other TPMS systems we've had in the past flash and cycle through each tire. This will show up to 4 tires at once, including temperature and pressure. It's easy to read. It's got a sticky mat that you just put down on your dashboard, so that it's not like it's permanently attached to your dash. I pull it off when we're not using it, which makes it really easy since it's lift on, lift off, but that rubber mat that it sits on is kind of tacky, so it sticks and holds to the dashboard, and I have not had any issue with it sliding around. The only issue we have had with it is at least twice, maybe 3 times on our trip, I lost, I think it was the passenger side tire pressure for a while, and then weirdly it just came back on later. Other than that, I have not had an issue with this TPMS system, and I would recommend it. The other thing was when I first started looking at tow mirrors for the truck, we had K-Source, I think they're called Snap and Zaps, on the Ford. Really, really liked them. I could not find it for this model of Chevy, so we bought this kind of universal fit. This thing's got like little tabs that slide in between the glass and the housing itself to hold these pieces on. And then there's ratchets on the back that you open these up, and then you can tighten the straps to hold them on here. And then there's a little tab here that releases it. There we go. And I am not a fan of this mirror. It's kind of hard to put on. I'm just not a fan of it. Well, recently I looked, and K-Source has actually made the new mirrors. So what I really liked about the Snap and Zaps for the Ford is how easy they went to go on, and these new ones don't disappoint. So it's just a simple slide-on system. The tabs grab the front of the mirror, you roll it on, and then you've got this bottom lever, hard to do one-handed, that snaps on, and there you go. And the other nice part about it is when they sell them as a set. So now I have a driver's and passenger tow mirror, which before we just had the driver's. But they look a lot cleaner. They extend out further so you can see around the trailer better. They're so much easier to put on and deal with. They're much, in my opinion, stronger of a hold. The other ones, I always felt, even though they never did, that they could vibrate themselves loose because there's really nothing holding those old mirrors from sliding off other than the rubber on the straps. And these fully surround the mirror so they can't come off. And then once you lock that tab, they are on there and they are solid. And when you fold your mirror, they fold with your mirror, so just like that, taken care of. I really like these. Again, they're the K-Source Snap and Zaps, and they now make them for the 3rd gen Chevy Colorado. I think that's going to do it for how the truck and the trailer did on the trip. And now let's go see what Sonja's doing in the sewing room.
So I realized that I have been stitching away on my daughter's quilt, and I haven't been filming, so I'm going to try to get this caught up. I can't remember if I mentioned this, but right before I left to go to Arizona, right around Christmas time, I was to the point where I had pieces put up, and I kind of measured, or I needed to measure and see what kind of space it was going to take up compared to what kind of space I had. And I was hoping to get that done before I left, and it didn't happen. And so when I got back, that was my first task. And I just, I don't know if you can see this, I did a little diagram on paper, really simple, really messy, measured the things, and then added up. And I was really pleased. I had been worried about working on it, and so I'd kind of put it off a little. But I was really pleased to find out that most things added up within an inch or so. And I didn't have seam allowances taken out. I knew some things, I could trim off 1/4 of an inch to make it match up or whatever. So now that I did that, it made it much easier to start working on it. So I had started on this section. Now I'm working on the middle section. So I have this part done. I need to put this up on the design board. And I'm not going to put it up that high because it's hard to reach, even with a stool. So, next thing we'll be putting probably these 2 sections together and this on that. And I do need to start putting the bottom section together, but I am pleased with how it's coming together. I think that it won't be long now and I'll actually have the top done, which I'm very excited about. And I'm really hoping that my daughter will love this. So that's where I'm at right now. I need to get back to work on stitching these pieces. I will say, even with the interfacing on them, it's kind of a pain to stitch t-shirts together. It works, but it is not my favorite thing to do. So I will be very happy to get this done. Well, my design wall is basically empty right now, not because the quilt is done, but because I was finding with this t-shirt fabric with the interfacing on the back, it doesn't stick to the design wall very well, so I was having to pin everything up there, and then trying to move it when I was getting bigger pieces was getting to be a pain. So because I don't have a pattern, I didn't cut things to any specific size, I'm having to finagle, measure, figure out like what I need to trim down or what I need to add a little bit to make them fit together. And so I needed to lay it out on the floor so that I could measure and see like how long is the strip on the end compared to the strip in the middle and so on. Right now I'm almost done. I have a little gap right here that I need to fill, and then I can put the bottom part. Well, then I need to put this side onto that, and then I need to put the bottom part on. So 1, 2, 3 more seams should get the top done. We'll see if I get that far today. I'm kind of exhausted already. Been a lot of wrangling this thing up and down off the wall before I decided to put it on the floor, and now just trying to get the pieces together. So I'm going to go figure out what piece I'm going to put in that little spot and get it ready to go, and then try to get that together. I really, really want to stop now, but also 3 more seams. That's all, 3 more seams. It seems like it sounds so quick. Well, it's another day. I didn't finish it right away, but I finished it today. So there is the top. It is completely together. Pinned up on my wall. And now I just have to put it together with the backing. I'm going to try to do a self-binding method using the backing fabric. It's like a minky. Can't remember if it's actually brand name minky or just a type of that sort of fabric, but it's very soft and cuddly. And I think this self-binding is nice because it gives a wider border to it, besides being simple to do as far as, you know, flip and turn. And then I'll have to figure out quilting it to keep it together with the back. But first I just need to get it on there. Now that the top is done, it's time to get the back on. I'm trying to do this as a self-binding blanket. For the back, we have this, it is so super soft and fuzzy and cuddly fabric. Cutting it was a pain. I looked like I killed a chia pet just with the first little cut that I made. And because it's so slick, I like pins. I think pins make it accurate, but as you can see, I have a lot of pins. This is pinned like every 3/4 of an inch or an inch, and I'm hoping that's enough. I'm not positive it will be. I've seen when people do this, they pin all around the quilt, and I think I did that when I did a king size one at one point, but I didn't need to use this many pins because I didn't have such slippery fabric. And it's heavy and awkward, and again, this is really slick, so it's hard to hang on to. So I decided I'm just going to do one side at a time. So I'm going to stitch this first side, and then we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty sure by the time I'm done, my machine's going to need a deep cleaning. Oh, and I just looked and realized I am almost out of thread, so I think I'm going to go change my thread first. Okay, I got my spool of thread changed. I got another bobbin, a round of fresh bobbin, so that I wouldn't run out of bobbin thread 5 minutes into this, or 5 feet into this, 5 inches into this, because that's the way it happens. And I'm ready to stitch. Okay, I got the backing on Kimmy's quilt, and I did the self-binding. I don't know if it's just because this backing fabric is so slippy or what, but even though I measured carefully and cut to make sure everything was the same distance around, it did get a little wonky, and so my corners were not going to come out perfectly right if I did it traditionally. So what I did was actually tuck in the extra and hand stitch the corners so that it still works, because I didn't want to have to take all that out. That would not be fun. So now I'm going to stitch around to stitch down this edge, and then I still have to figure out what I'm doing for quilting it. So in the meantime, I've changed my color of thread, so I have something that's close to this color of the fuzzy fabric. I did pin it so that I needed to keep it straight as I go down. The only problem I realized just now as I'm getting ready to put this under my machine is I pinned it as if I was sewing it from the opposite direction. So I'm going to have to stop and be taking pins out before I get to my machine, or before I get to the presser foot. This is going to be interesting to do, and hopefully I won't stab myself too many times. But I am getting ready to do that, and then I'm probably going to pause for a while again to figure out what I'm doing for the quilting. So my plan here, let's see if I can get this close enough. I have got this set up with a zigzag, and I am hoping to go right along the edge, or just inside, probably just inside actually. Doop. This is really going to be tricky to do. So that I'm stitching right there. I am going to stitch for an inch or two and see what it looks like, because it may just mat all this down, but I'm thinking it will probably bring it down so that it kind of overlaps and comes all around. So I think it will look fine, but I'm going to do just a couple inches, see how it looks, because if I don't like it, it's going to be easier to take out a couple inches than to take out feet and feet. I have done about 6 inches. I think I started about there of this stitching, and at first I was worried that I was gonna have to pull it out because it did seem to be kind of squishing it down, but I've realized as I get done this far, like, it just kind of disappears. You can hardly see where I've stitched and where I haven't. So I'm gonna keep going. It's kind of tricky because I'm trying to line up the edge, which is over there, with this point of my presser foot so I can keep it even. I am going to put my quilting glove on just to kind of help hang on to it, and I'm having to watch and feel, actually feel more than watch, for where I have pins, because they get buried in here and you can't see them at all. So I have to feel for the pin head so I can pull it out before it gets to the presser foot, because otherwise it's going the wrong way and it's going to be really difficult. So that's what I'm working on, and we'll just keep going. I don't know how well this is going to show. I'm working on Kimmy's t-shirt quilt, and I am planning on tying this quilt because I don't want to have all the stitching from machine quilting going over the top of the logos of her t-shirts, but it does need a way to keep together, so I'm going to tie it. I'm going to use a Decatur knot, which I used years ago on my gigantic big blue quilt. I did it then because I don't like the look of tied quilts having the fuzzy bits of yarn hanging out over the top, and so this does it so that it makes a nice neat finish little stitch with no yarn. Let me move you here and I will show you what I mean. This is what it does. So it is kind of like a cross stitch, but there's a little knot in the middle. So that's the stitch I'm going to be doing. Now, normally when you do this, you would have like miles and miles of yarn that you're using, and you do one stitch and then you go through the quilt to the next one and so on. I can do that for little bits here and there where the ends are closest, because my idea at the moment is I want to do every place that there's a junction between the pieces, but I want to do as little as possible actually inside each t-shirt area. Some are going to need it because they're just so big, but I want to do all these little join areas first, then assess and see where does it need more. So I don't want to be doing it with miles and miles of yarn. Plus, I will admit that was a pain to do because you pull your thread up and then you have to keep just pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. It isn't really fun. So I am doing smaller sections of yarn. I'm doing a knot that I can pop through like you would do if you were hand quilting, so that it's inside the quilt. And then when I get done, I am doing the same thing, making a little knot and popping it into the middle. So they'll either be, if they're far away from another juncture, they'll be their own little knot by itself, or it will be one that goes through the back of the quilt to one that's close by. Anyway, that's what I'm doing. I am going to have a bit, and I'm going to do a simple knot. I tried doing a quilter's knot. It seems to be just a little bit too thick to want to go through the t-shirt, and I was afraid that I would tear it. So I've just done a regular, go over and pull sort of knot. The trickiest part with this is the backing is so slippery that it's hard to hold it and make sure it's staying in the right spot. Oh, also it's kind of hard to get the right spot in between the layers, because without batting in there, you just go right through the back of the quilt so easily without hardly noticing. So I'm having to pay special attention to make sure I don't do that. Oh, now that one wanted to pop all the way through. So I guess we'll make this one a little bit bigger. I'm guessing that is just because this little blanket part here that I'm going through is definitely a looser weave than the t-shirt that I was going through when I first tried it. It did not want to go through the t-shirt with the interfacing and all. Now this one's going to be too big. And I broke that one off. Okay, let's go back to just one again. And we'll try this one more time. I mean, it does have the interfacing on there, so that should get it stuck there at some point. I can do this. There we go. In, and it stayed put. Okay, so we're going to go across diagonally and go through. Then we're going to come up. We're going to do cross stitch. Okay, then we go under the first stitch that we made, and then we go back under this stitch there to make a loop. Then we go through that loop. That's what makes that knot. And then we go down into the center. And we go over to where the next stitch. And then we do the same thing all over again. So this is not going to be quick. It's simple. I'd say it's not easy just because it's kind of hard on the hands, or at least on my hands. I have arthritic hands, and I probably will not be able to do this for very long periods at a time. Probably will do this for half an hour or so, or I may just be like, oh, I'm going to get this many thingies done and then stop. Okay, this one is grabbing a bunch of the fuzzies. There we go. Pull those back out through. And go under again, through there. Now this one I don't have one immediately nearby, so I'm just going to bring this down here to the back of the quilt. I'm going to tie this off. Tricky part, of course, is keeping all the fuzzies out of it. I made stuffed bears a number of times, and I didn't realize that that was going to be useful because I've dealt with fake fur stuff before. Through the fabric just a little ways, pop that knot in, and then trim that off. And that's really nice because back here, even though there is stitches back there, you can't even see them. Color matches so well and the fur is so fuzzy. So that is what I'm working on today. We'll see how far I get. I have gotten this finished. Yay! I even got a little label on it. I thought about trying to match the color of t-shirts when I was doing some of the stitching, but I think it looks fine. You can see the stitches if you're looking for them, but I think they're not particularly noticeable other than on, let's see, one of the dark ones. You know, even on the dark, they're not all that noticeable. Like they're in this one, right there and there, and there and there. But they don't stand out too much. I think this is the only one. They stand out on this one, but since the writing on it is white, I don't think it is negatively noticeable. I mean, you can see it, but I don't think it stands out and looks odd. So, t-shirt quilt is done. Not sure which project will be next. Now I need to clean things up and put them away and then assess. But I'm so excited to be done. Thank you for joining me on this little adventure.